Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to talk about Phil Hawes versus Ikram Aliskerov, or Aliskerov, I think. I don't know. The commentators will tell you. I think the commentators for Brave FC would call him Aliskerov. But anyway, he's 13-1, 30 years old. Phil Hawes is 34 years old, 12-4. Phil Hawes also has an inch and a half of reach, which might be something. Who knows? I do think Phil Hawes has better striking overall. Offensively, I should say. Overall, I don't know if he's got better striking than fucking anybody, because I have doubts about his chin. You know, Ikram Aliskerov, I think, is at a technical disadvantage, at a power disadvantage against Phil Hawes. But I do think he's got enough power to crack Hawes' chin. You know, Phil Hawes, his chin has failed him in 3 of his 4 losses to Julian Marquez, to Roman Dolidze, of course, in his last fight, even though you could argue his knee failed him there, and Chris Curtis, of course, knocked him out. Roman Dolidze ripped apart his knee, but then knocked him out. You know, Phil Hawes, it's not like, he got pounded out because he couldn't stand up like Kenny Florian defeating Dean Thomas or some shit. No, his chin still failed him, despite the knee failing him as well. So I do think Phil Hawes in general is only more vulnerable than he was beforehand. And he was pretty damn vulnerable before. But I don't know, Aliskerov, a good amount of his TKOs come on the ground, as you might imagine. This guy's a problem on the ground. And Phil Hawes might have that unique style where he can take away some of Aliskerov's main strengths. Aliskerov, he's a monster on the ground, just especially as of late, a Kimura machine. 3 of his best wins come by Kimura. The guy in the Contender Series, Martin Souza, Dennis Tiuliulin, I believe is still in the UFC, and I believe has a much different name than the one I just gave you, and also some other asshole, but it was in the latter portion of his career. He's got an excellent Kimura, just you could see beautiful technique, and if he can't finish you, he'll still use it to advance on you in grappling, I'm sure from the bottom as well as on top. But Phil Hawes, being a national champion wrestler, might take away a lot of that. Might take away a lot of his game if he's able to just completely neutralize the wrestling attack of Aliskerov or Aliskerov. And on paper, he should be able to. Phil Hawes should be able to. It's just, there are a lot of doubts with Phil Hawes. Of course, his chin, if he's on the feet, which, not only can end the fight with the fucking, kill shot, but I'm sure it's going to make his striking suffer. And I know he had doubts about his chin in every fight already, but still, when you've been knocked out that much, self-preservation has to enter your mind much more often than it does for somebody else. And also, I think cardio is a distinct disadvantage for Phil Hawes. He's built like a brick shithouse, and I don't trust his cardio. He's faded even in his fight before the UFC to Lewis Taylor, who's a very capable fighter, could have been in the UFC, but that happened in round 2. Marquez got him out of there in round 2. He had that fight with Imavov. Nasruddin Imavov was having a lot of success in round 3. And Phil Hawes, even maybe I can't attribute any of his first round losses to, cardio, because that was purely his chin failing him, but still, maybe he gets a little sloppy at the end of that 5-minute sprint. I have doubts about his cardio, and I do think if these guys find themselves in round 3, Aliskerov's going to be better everywhere. Better on the ground, certainly, better striking, better wrestling, better at being fucking black. He'll be better at being black in round 3. Maybe. But Phil Hawes, again, he's in a winning effort against Duran Win anyway. I believe that fight went to round 3, but that was where it was a total shutout. He's gone 15 minutes before, and he went 15 minutes again with Imavov surviving round 3, which was, a credit to him, despite him losing round 3. He went 15 minutes with Kyle Dawkins. He's definitely, when he's firing on all cylinders, he's a problem, and he's in the realm of beating Aliskerov, definitely, just with that wrestling pedigree. But I'm picking Aliskerov to win. I'm picking him to win, and I think if he does win, of course, it'll be by finish. I think a knockout is much more likely. For it to be a submission, Hawes' wrestling will have to fail him, and I can't count on that. So Aliskerov's my pick by knockout. I'll go with round 2. But I'm not going to bet on it. Not going to bet on it. In fact, the only bet of mine is Phil Hawes winning by knockout in round 1, plus 750. Phil Hawes has 8 knockout wins in his 12 losses. I didn't go through this shit, did I? 2 submissions and 2 decisions. Again, 8 knockouts in his 12 wins. He's visibly got the knockout power, and I do think he's the better striker. When they're firing on all cylinders, like in round 1, if Phil Hawes isn't completely gun-shy, he's the better striker. Much better striker, I'd say, than Aliskerov. Aliskerov throws good combinations, and he's got visible power, but it hasn't produced results, not in the way Phil Hawes has. Ask Jacob Malkoun. But, yeah, I'm picking Aliskerov, though, because I just think Phil Hawes is way too vulnerable. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.